Hello everyone, this is Jason. We're looking at how to graph linear inequalities. We're going to talk about how to decide how to graph it, um, how to test a point, and what line to use, all that good stuff. So let's take a look at a few examples here. So in this first example, the first thing I notice is that this is kind of in slope-intercept form, except it's an inequality. So in order to graph this, I'm going to use slope-intercept form to help me graph it. So if I just assume that this is y equals negative 4/5 x minus 5, I know that my y-intercept is negative 5. So that means I'm going to find negative 5 on my y-axis and plot that point. And then I'm going to use this slope to help me find other points. The slope is negative 4/5. So that means I'm going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a new point. I can do the same thing, the opposite direction from the initial point. I can go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right 5. 1, or excuse me, left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's my 3 points. Now, I have to decide whether to use a solid or dashed line. The solids are these two inequality symbols. The dashed are these two. So since this one is a greater than inequality, it's just a dashed line. So I'm just going to dash a line there. And then I need to determine which side to shade. So this is a 3-step process: deciding how to graph, deciding which line to use, and then where to shade. So how do I test shading? I test a point. And typically, unless the line goes through the origin, we want to test 0, 0. And if I test 0, 0, I plug this in. And then 0 is greater than negative 5, which is a true statement. So since this is true, I'm going to shade the region above or where 0 is. So I'm shading this region. So this is what my graph of my inequality would look like. Okay, simple process. That's how it's done. So let's take a look at this next example. Now this form is standard form. So I'm going to use the intercepts method. So that means I'm going to find the x and y intercept. So I set up two equations. 4x equals negative 4, and then y equals negative 4. That's going to give me my x and y intercepts. So my x-intercept will be negative 1. So I find negative 1 on the x-axis, plot a point. I'm going to find negative 4 on the y-axis, plot a point. Again, testing dashed or solid. I'm going to put a line there just so we have different ones. So this is going to be a solid line because I added that to it. And so I'm just going to draw a solid line through that. And I'm going to try to keep the slope the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just trying to give myself some visual so I can draw a straight line. And so here is my line. It's solid. And again, I want to test a point to see if I get a true statement. Again, since it doesn't go through the origin, 0, 0 is my test point. I plug in 0, 0, 4 times 0 plus 0 has to be less than or equal to negative 4. 0 is not less than or equal to negative 4. This is a false statement. So that means I shade the opposite side of the line. So I don't shade where 0, 0 is. I shade the opposite side. And so that's the graph of my inequality. There's the process. Okay. And let's just do one where we only have one variable. This says that y is less than negative 3. So I'm going to find negative 3 on the y-axis. So negative 3 on the y-axis. Because it's just y, that means it's going to be a horizontal line. Because there's no line inequality underneath, that means it's going to be a dashed line. So I'm going to draw a dashed line across there. And again, my test point is 0, 0. So I'm going to plug in 0. Is 0 less than negative 3? Well, no, it's not. So I shade the opposite side. So that's really all there is to graphing an inequality, a linear inequality. So that's it. Now, what if you're given the linear inequality and you're asked to write the equation? Well, we're going to try to write these in slope-intercept form. Then if we need to kind of adjust it depending on if a multiple choice or not. So I want to find the y-intercept, which is where the line crosses the y-axis. So that's going to be 4. I want to find another good point. That looks like a good point right there. So I'm going to find my slope. A rise of 1, a run of 2. It's a positive slope because if I stand over here, always standing on the left, if I walk uphill, it's positive. So my m is 1/2. So that means my equation would be y equals 1/2 x plus 4. But now I need to determine an inequality symbol instead of a equal sign. So here's how we do that. So I'm going to take that off. I know that it's either going to be this symbol or this symbol because that's a solid line. And because it's above, I'm thinking it's going to be this one because that's greater than. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to test. I'm going to test 0, 0. So we're right back to testing. So 0 greater than or equal to 1/2 times 0 plus 4 is 0 greater than or equal to 4. No, so that means down here shouldn't be shaded, which is correct. That's what I've got. I've got the top part shaded. So that means that's the correct inequality sign. So I hope this helps you with the basics of graphing a linear inequality. If you still need help with this as you're working, please let me know and I'll get you some additional resources.